Hey everyone, and welcome to the Rate of Return podcast, a 30-minute podcast whose entire purpose is to equip you with the tools and resources to become the best financial version of yourself. From investing in the stock market or real estate to cleaning up your personal finances, putting you on track to become a millionaire, the Rate of Return podcast exists to give you actionable insights you can work toward today. A very special guest. She is awesome. Joining me today is Sima Gandhi, the co-founder and CEO of Creative Juice. After graduating with honors from Stanford, she found herself working in policy, first as a senior economic policy analyst for Center for American Progress, then as a policy advisor for the Department of Treasury. After a few years, Sima pivoted toward product development and strategy. She led major products at American Express within this realm of work, including launching Bluebird with Walmart. In 2015, Sima began a new position at a company just as exciting, Plaid. You know Plaid, it's that software nearly every fintech app is using to connect with your bank account. Sima joined the company as employee number 15 and as head of business development and strategy, helped scale their assets under management from about 40 million to roughly 5 billion. Sima specifically hired and built out Plaid's global policy, bank, and partnership teams. Fast forward to 2021, and Sima is now the co-founder and CEO of Creative Juice, a banking solution specifically created with creators for creators. Creative Juice offers online creators like myself a dashboard that displays data surrounding engagement, a bank account with the ability to unlock access to future revenue instantly, and a chance to become an investable asset, which is something we're going to talk a lot about here pretty soon. Sima, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And what an amazing introduction. One, you make me sound really old, but that's okay. It was just a really generous and kind introduction. So thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we jump into like the nitty gritty of Creative Juice and all that fun stuff that you're building and maybe even your past and stuff like that, we want to really get a breakdown of what Creative Juice is in your own words. So would you mind walking us through, your 30-second elevator pitch, perhaps?
For sure. Creative Juice is essentially banking and financing for creators. I believe creators are the next generation of small businesses in America. From your Instagram shop to your YouTuber that's got a brand built around them, to merchandising, to deals that you do with brands, to courses on, teachably, like creators are building these amazing businesses around themselves, but banks are not serving them. It's hard to open an account. uh, Workflows are separate in all kinds of different places, and you don't have an ability to securely share your account with managers or other core members of your team. We're solving that problem so that it's easier for creators to be businesses and they can focus on their passions, which is creating. And then on top of that, when you bank with us, we also help you smooth out your cash flow. So, creators do not always get the paychecks that many people do, where you know what you're getting every 2 weeks. Like, money can be lumpy, and sometimes you need to move up the money, and so you can make payroll or pay for some equipment that you need. And we're helping creators get that, so you can get your YouTube 30 days faster, and brand deals get paid faster as well. And we're really trying to be that resource that helps creators just build these amazing businesses. Our mission is to grow the creator economy. And if creators are unlocking their potential, their business potential, then we are going to be growing the creator economy. And that's something we're very excited about.
100%. I that was an amazing introduction. I appreciate that. And to kind of talk toward, even before we jump in the first question here, your point around, banks kind of shrugging us off. I could totally empathize with that, right? That happened to me. It was really hard to quit my W-2 job. This 9 to 5, I was working at a Medicis doing mergers and acquisitions and strategic finance and all that fun stuff for 2.5 years out of college. And when I quit that job, I quickly realized, I think one of the bigger things that kind of threw me off was, mortgage rates were low. The Fed had lowered all those rates. And I was like, hey, I have a house. Well, let me refinance. I know this isn't something you guys do, but I mean, it's a very real thing that happened to me. It's like, let me refinance my mortgage. Oh, you don't have a job. We're not going to even talk to you. Right. It's like, oh, you're doing your everything, like whatever. And that it's so frustrating that banks and financial institutions, traditional financial institutions, have that point of view. And I'm really fortunate that companies like you guys exist, giving us creators sort of access to financial products that, we small businesses do have access to, considering that we are small businesses. So it's amazing.
Yeah, small businesses typically, to get an SBA loan, you've got to have 2 years of revenue, or they won't even talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
The creator economy is so young that to have someone, an expectation that they're going to have 2 years or a certain amount of revenue is not realistic. And we're really excited that we can partner with amazing creators like Betty Van from Click and Switch or Caleb from Oompaville, and invest in them, give them the capital that they need to grow their businesses, and then align their incentives with them so that as they grow, we grow. That's really exciting. So that small businesses, these creator small businesses, can grow just the way that any other small business would.
And we're going to get a lot into that, right? Creators as investable assets. But before we do that, I got a couple questions for you. So the first one is, you're obviously a rock star. You were the 15th employee at a company now valued more than $13 billion in the private markets, right? Plaid. And you helped them scale very quickly. Plaid unlocked immense value for thousands of fintechs, allowing them to securely access customer bank accounts in efforts to provide data and analytics or anything else that they were working on doing for that matter, right? So my question is, what specific value do you hope Creative Juice can unlock for creators, their managers, employees, and anyone else working in this overarching creator economy?
I hope that we can give them the financial services and tools that they need to make running their business super smooth, and that they can channel all of their energy and their creative energy into growing that creative part of their business and reaching their full potential. I think today, the problem is that a lot of creators are still in early days of thinking themselves as a business. And so there's a patchwork of tools that they're using, from PayPal to Venmo to a personal banking account to QuickBooks, maybe to spreadsheets. I mean, I've seen your workflow, Austin, and that it doesn't need to be that way. I think for a lot of creators, it can feel intimidating, or there's not a service that just solves that for them and understands and has empathy for the different pieces that they're trying to pull together. And we want to make it easier for creators to be creator businesses with their banking platform so that they can go on and focus on the creative part of it. Again, our mission is to grow the creator economy. And if we're doing our jobs right, then every creator is unlocking their full business potential. And that's what we're trying to solve. We want to be that business banking account that's also your business partner.
I love that. And I think, that to me is one of the most important parts, and why I'm so fortunate to have a co-founder like Christian Blackwell, who's been able to help me build, my business behind the scenes, right? He helps me take care of everything from the operational side of things, the financial side of things, all that stuff. So me as the creator, I can just get in front of the camera and host cool podcast episodes like this, right? It's like doubling down on what you're good at and kind of automating the rest to someone else. And it seems like you guys are building this business that's going to take away a lot of that stress, that burden, that time from creators and off of their backs, and just kind of, take it onto yours.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head there talking about Christian, your manager slash business partner.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's really interesting about this part of the economy is that there are a lot of creators who have that person that's working with them, to that yin and the yang that helps them be that broader business. And that's why the manager tooling that we built is so important, is because you need the ability to securely collaborate with your manager.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, I was chatting with Colin from Colin and Samir, and Colin was saying, if I hadn't met Samir, who's more of the business person and Colin's more of the creative person, then I might just be working a 9-to-5 W-2 job at Fox Media, because I wouldn't have felt comfortable dealing with the whole banking and all this QuickBooks stuff. And it's like, wow, that's really what I want to solve, is helping every person who hasn't yet met that person that can help them on the business side look to Creative Juice and realize that it's doable. They can do it. We're going to help them get set up and get going in the right way, because we're that business bank account that legitimizes you and gives you the workflows and the tools to help you understand what's important and make sure that your ship is in order so that you can actually make creating your full-time career.
So let's talk about that, right? The workflows, the tools, things of that nature. Something very exciting to me about Creative Juice is this Juice Boost. And for those who are listening right now that might not understand what this is, it's essentially a short-term advance against your future earnings, right? So for example, you might be a YouTuber making $1,500 a month posting content about gardening. And if you are that YouTuber doing that, please let me know. I want to subscribe and watch. But you're a YouTuber doing your thing. If it's gardening, if it's making wallets, if it's whatever, but you're following your passion, you're making some money doing it. Traditionally speaking, YouTube's AdSense is paid out on up to a 60-day rolling basis, right? So if you posted a video on March 1st, you wouldn't be able to be paid out on those earnings. That video has accumulated until almost the end of the next month, end of April, right? 60 days, long time. With Creative Juice, creators are paid out on their YouTube AdSense and brand deals, and soon Twitch earnings and TikTok Creator Fund money instantly. Seema, walk me through how you all came up with this idea and specifically how you underwrite this risk, right? That to me is the sort of sexy part. It's like, how are you underwriting this? This is interesting.
You're probably the only person who will call underwriting sexy. So let's just pause there. So let me start with the problem that we're trying to solve.
Sure.
Fundamentally, small businesses need access to capital to grow. Um, we spoke earlier how creator businesses are not seen as legitimate businesses by traditional financial services, which means that they don't have access to capital. And it's really remarkable how much the creator economy has grown, given that it's mostly been organic without those capital
Mm-hmm.
investments. So I think kudos to creators for figuring all of that out. But now we want to be able to help them access that capital to smooth the cash flow. So when we looked at what's happening in the consumer side, where people can access their payroll up to 3 days faster, or even use services like Even or Earn It to get access to their paychecks faster, we thought that should apply to AdSense as well. This is the creator's money because of AdSense and their systems and their processes. It takes a while to get that money paid out, but why can't a creator access that earlier? And if they want to be able to invest in equipment, or they need to make payroll, or some brand deal got late and so they need to
Sure.
be able to make a payment on their office lease space, like that's a way of helping you smooth out your cash flow and continuing to invest in your business so that you can grow. I was talking to a creator who's saying, I upgraded our office lease space. Now our rent is multiple thousands of dollars a month. It's a big step for me. And I was nervous about being able to make payment. What if a brand deal fell through or there
Mm-hmm.
was some
Mm-hmm.
some downside scenario? So he went to the bank to get a line of credit that he could access should something happen. He said 2 months later and tons of paperwork later and conversations and time and energy, I still don't have a line of credit because
Mm.
it's a massive nightmare. And I said, well, why wouldn't you just pull down your AdSense 30 days faster if you needed to? And he just looked at me and was like, what? Like, yeah, I guess I could do that. And that would smooth out the cash flow. And so that's really what we're trying to do with AdSense or Twitch and even the creator fund money, is giving creators the ability to smooth out their cash flow when they need it. So now to answer your question about underwriting the risk, that is always the challenging part when you're giving someone money. And so we've been careful and slow and starting with AdSense and, deliberately adding the platforms that we want. I think the biggest pain point for creators is really around the brand payments and
Mm.
being able to get money faster from the brand when you need it, because that can be net 90 or net 120 and then they run late and it's kind of a pain. So one of the things that we've done is actually built like a smart invoicing system that tracks each invoice separately for you as a creator. So you no longer have to have it in a Google sheet or anything.
Sure.
And the second thing that we'll do is actually project out when the income would hit. So if I'm invoicing you today, Austin, for this podcast in February, but it's net 120, so that means it's not due till June,
Mm-hmm.
I'll actually now see in a chart that I have a payment coming in June, and I can start understanding what my income looks like over the year, because it's not every 2 week paycheck.
Got it.
So we're really trying to empower creators with that. On the brand side, we're working slowly, and that's why we want you to bank with us, so we can build the credit with us, and we understand you as a creator and get more comfortable invoicing brands. It's a very high risk scenario, and I think I am a bit of a financial services person, and so I'm probably a little more cautious and careful. But ultimately, what we're building is a business that I hope will be here for 20 and 30 years, right? And so we want to be really thoughtful and measured about it, but really solve for real creator pain points. So more on that is coming soon. But what I'd say is start banking with us, build your credit with us. We understand you, we understand your pain points, and we want to be there for creators when they need access to some of that capital to smooth out their cash flow.
So to me, to sort of summarize that, it seems like you guys underwrite this from the perspective of, well, they already bank with us. We know that they are always doing brand deals, if it's monthly or if it's quarterly, whatever. Maybe they have that YouTube AdSense that we kind of have a figure out of a range that what that looks like. Maybe they have a Patreon perhaps or some other subscription revenue. They have general course sales. So you guys kind of aggregate this data that says, all right, we know they're good for it. All is cool. They're banking with us. We see this transparency. Everything's fine. We're not going to move forward with whatever the juice boost is for.
So the juice boost will always be against a receivable.
Correct,
So for
correct.
AdSense, it'll always be against that. And for the invoicing, unfortunately, there are a lot of fraudsters out there, and the fraudsters ruin it for the rest of us,
Hmm.
right? But there are fraudsters out there who want to, and who do create fake invoices, fake contracts with a brand, and even have
Hmm.
a Google Voice number set up that when you call the brand to verify that it's actually a brand, like it's actually not the brand, it's just some fake thing, and so you advance the money, but the brand doesn't exist, and so you never get paid back. And so by banking with us, we know, let's say, Austin, that you are a real creator, that you work with us. And so when you want to get an advance from a brand, we can, look at your history of you as a creditworthy person to reduce the underwriting risk. There's a separate risk criteria that we have to undertake when it comes to the actual brand, making
Hmm.
sure it's a real brand and a real contract. But a lot of the risk is managed if you're banking with us. Otherwise, I've seen a lot of companies in this space and they're looking at 30-40% losses because they're just being scammed. And again, it's unfortunate.
Wow.
Like I saw this at Plaid, I see this at Creative Juice, where when there's an opening for fraud or exposure, the
People are
fraudsters
gonna,
are the ones
yeah.
that find out first, and they have Reddit threads and they have
Mm,
message boards around like go scam it. And we just need to be thoughtful about making sure that it's done in a really tight way so that people who need it are getting it, but that we're not losing our shirts to the
got it.
fraudsters.
Got it. Well, I love that, and I've juice boosted with you guys before. And if you guys are maybe you're a creator listening right now, thinking about should you juice boost, I would say yes. It was a seamless process, and Sima makes it very easy. Moving on now to our sort of halfway of the end of the podcast here segment called Mailbox Money. This is when as you know, Seem, I've got 50, I think it's now 57, 5,800 people subscribed to my Substack. Yeah, tons. I'm
It's
really excited
amazing.
about that. And what I do is I send out a email saying, hey guys, here's the person I'm interviewing for the podcast. I hope to be this bridge, this communication bridge between that person and yourself, the audience, right? Assuming that the person that I'm interviewing is relatable and stuff like that, which you clearly are. And I asked them for questions, and I've got three right here from Julie, Louis, and it's hard to say this name. Samarpita. She's from France. She's amazing. She's friends with my friend Joseph, but we'll get to that. The first question, however, is from Louis from New Orleans. Louis asks, "Hey Sima, I actually regrettably turned down a job at Plaid, so I felt compelled to send in a question. I'm curious, what are your most valuable things that you took away from your roles at both American Express and Plaid?"
Wow, that's so cool, Louis. We could have been colleagues. Before I answer that question, I just want to call out, Austin, how cool it is that you're linking your Substack with this podcast. And like, that's really cool.
I
That's
appreciate that. Thank you.
cool creator trip. So to answer that question, I think fundamentally that a company is only as good as its people. Um, and from my experiences at Amex, at Plaid, I think, you know, leadership and values come from the top. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to start my own company too. Is I think one of the things that made Plaid so special, especially in the early days, is that there was such a respect and appreciation for the work that people do and giving them space to do their jobs well, empowering them, and a sense of safety, psychological safety, where different people can do different things as long as you're producing the outcomes or there's clear communication around why something doesn't work. And that camaraderie and that feeling of being able to do what you're really good at is like a really special thing. And at Amex, I saw that play out as well, where the teams that really thrived came from teams that felt like they had psychological safety and could really be different, but that was appreciated versus having to present or talk about things in a monolithic way where people are different. We think in different ways,
Hmm.
and that should be respected. That's part of communication. And so, I think this is often said, well, a company is only its people, the sum of its people. I just can't underscore that enough. And I feel so lucky at Creative Juice that I get to work with such an amazing set of people who share a similar set of values and a passion for building something that's going to power the next phase of our economy.
I love it. That was a beautiful answer to a great question. Thank you. Moving on now to Julie from Los Angeles. Julie says, I'm currently a social media manager for a medium sized company. I've thought about leaving for other jobs that pay more now, but I'd be less happy. I really do think that social media managers will make much higher salaries over the coming years. Do you think this is a fair bet, or am I being impartial?
I think that's absolutely a fair bet. I was just talking to someone where social media managers, editors, are all being paid so much more today than they were even a couple years ago, and so I think that will continue to trend. And I'd also say that, Julie, like if you're happy doing what you are, that actually matters a lot because that means that you enjoy doing what you're doing. And so if you enjoy doing what you're doing, you're going to do more of it and put more of your heart into it, which just means that you're going to be better at it versus trying to optimize from the money, which is a short-term thing. So I'd say absolutely, I am bullish on all of these jobs being paid more over the next couple of years. But I'd also say, um, you can also find ways to advocate for yourself now, whether through contracting work or
Mm,
thinking about becoming a business in of yourself outside of just the company. I think it's part of the great resignation where, depending on, again, what brings you the most joy, you can actually build a really strong business contracting and doing social media management for different types of company, almost become your own, brand agency or agency if you wanted to, that helps companies with social media management. So uh, do what makes you happy, do what you're good at, and I think the money will come.
I totally agree with you there as well, Seema. It's like, I'm looking around here, and of course, engineers, product, all that fun stuff, they're obviously always going to be in very high demand. And we've seen that with their salaries being super, super high, right? But now I think as more and more companies begin to embrace social media, if it's TikTok, if it's YouTube, if it's Instagram, if it's Twitter, if it's, a blog or an email newsletter, but just understanding that that is where people live. They don't live in a television. They don't live on a billboard. They don't live on like the side of a bus, right? They live in their phones. And if we can communicate with people in a meaningful way through our social media, that drives conversion. If it's value adding, if audience building, whatever, then that's going to be obviously, then the company will put a premium to that person who can make those things happen. And to me, it seems like Julie, I haven't met you, but I'm sure you're good at your job. And I'm very confident that in the coming years, social media managers, very effective and strong social media managers, will certainly see a pay upgrade as they continue to show the companies that they work for just how powerful their skill sets really are.
Yeah,
So next
totally
we
agree.
have I really hope I can say this right. Samarpita from France. And this is interesting. This is a question that I'm kind of curious about too, right? What are the main revenue streams for Creative Juice?
Wow, very business question. So today we invest in creators. We can talk about that a little bit later as we talk about creators as an asset class,
Sure.
and so we do make money from that. Um, it's revenue based financing. So as the creator grows, we take a cut of that growth until we're paid back. We will also buy back catalogs for creators, which we can make money off of as well. And then we also take a small fee for boosts or other type of advances that we do to cover the rest of the capital that we provide up front. So those are our main sources of revenue today. Over time, I think there will be different opportunities to make more money, but right now our focus, like any true to venture company, is really, we really just want to build the best product we can and serve as
Mhm.
many creators as we can, and be solving a real problem.
I love it. And to talk for a moment toward the catalog part of that answer that you just gave, Seema, I think that's a really interesting part of being a YouTuber that people might not understand, right? And again, this information is data that I'm about to present. But Casey Neistat, right, one of the OG vloggers on YouTube, his year to date for like 2022, at the time I saw the stat, total views on his YouTube, which were AKA the videos he'd posted throughout the year of 2022 were like 3, 4, 5, 6 million, right? But the total views on his entire back catalog during that same period of time in the first couple weeks or maybe month or two of 2022 when the stat came out was over 60 million. So it's interesting to see the difference between, you mentioned buying a back catalog. That can be very valuable. Owning someone's
Mhm.
back catalog, aka the hundreds of videos they've posted over the last several years, assuming that they're still evergreen or people still want to watch them, which in Casey Neistat's example they obviously were and did, can be very valuable, especially to someone like Creative Juice.
Yeah, it can. I will admit I have mixed feelings on back catalogs because when you buy a back catalog, you're often also asking the creator to give up the rights to their content and
Mm,
you're taking the revenue streams from that. So we actually prefer to do investments into creators. So if you need the money because you want to invest in something, we had a creator who, we invested in so that they could buy a candy machine, and continue to grow their business. I would rather invest in you and you keep all of the rights to your content and your back catalog because if you're at Casey Neistat, that's going to be YouTube Gold that continues to just spin off money,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
that's a great source of revenue for you to keep yourself if you're bullish on your own views over time. So we offer it because we know creators like it and they're used to it and they're comfortable with it. But oftentimes we'll have the conversation with the creator around, do you really want to sell the rights for the next 5 years? Like if you're bullish on your growth, you may not want to. Like if you're looking for shorter term or flexible financing, why don't you think about a revenue based financing deal? So it's an interesting way to think about that asset, right? And whether you as a creator should sell it, because at the same time, I think it's really just about what you're trying to solve for.
I love that you guys understand and are empathetic enough to see what the creator's trying to figure out, that problem they're trying to solve, and you guys are flexible enough to help them solve that problem in a way that's obviously not greedy, and but also, from your perspective, not greedy, but can also be that additional boost of revenue if they're, the problem they're trying to solve is big enough. I love that.
Yeah, that's what gets us excited is helping creators grow. Again, it comes back to our whole mission, which is to grow the creator economy.
Hmm.
You know, I think we build a more sustainable company by doing right by creators. One of
Hmm.
our values is we grow as creators grow, and that doesn't it means optimizing for the longer term, right? So it's not about pushing the back catalog product or something on someone. It's really understanding their needs and giving them flexible financing options. I think to date, the back catalog was really the only financing option a creator had. With us, you can talk about the back catalog, you can talk about an investment, or if you just want something short term, go get a boost,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
And we hope that those different flexible options will help empower creators to feel more confident around managing their cash flows and making this a full-time business that grows and thrives and lets them live the life that they want to live.
100%. So now let's talk about the sexy stuff. Investing in creators. We talked about it a little bit before, but let's really get into the nitty gritty here, right? You guys raised $5 million last year. And according to Business Insider, you invested a million of that into actual creators, right? You invested into people who are creating content on the internet, which just blows my mind. Um, is Creative Juice unlocking a new asset class? Like, walk me through juice funds and how people who want to be invested into perhaps can get involved.
We are absolutely investing or creating a new asset class, right? Small businesses are an asset class. We have a whole agency of the federal government and the small business agency set up or administration set up to work with small businesses. And unfortunately, today, creators are not part of that
Mm.
definition and aren't served by these resources. And what we're saying is this is an asset class that needs to be invested in and grown, and we're serving that. What that means is being able to value them, being able to, understand what the revenue streams look like so that we can take a bet against it and,
Mhm.
invest in it, and be a partner in that growth trajectory. If you are a creator and you're listening to this and you want to be receive juice funds, please come to our site. Log in. There's a Juice Funds button. Apply. Connect your social platform. We are able to use these analytics in a way that other companies can't. Like your bank is not going to ask you to connect your YouTube, but we do because we look at the data and what your views mean and what your sub growth is, and a whole bunch of other factors to understand, or have a view on your growth trajectory and what type of investment we can give you. We want to be that partner. We're really also excited that a lot of our investees are actually women and people of underrepresented backgrounds. It's actually something that's very important to us that the creator class of businesses isn't just one type. There's like a whole middle class of creators, and we will cut checks as small as 25,000 and 2 million and above, right? So we
Wow.
can be flexible, but we really want to make sure that folks out there in the creative middle class understand that we're there to write the smaller checks as well and be that supporting system. So uh, definitely go to getjuice.com, follow us on Twitter, getjuice, log in, apply to Juice Funds. We really want to hear from you. We look at every application.
I love that. So let's talk about the people who have received money for a moment. I'm not 100% confident into who they are. I read the article, right? I looked at their YouTube channels, but I didn't dive deep. I'm not sure if you remember I think there was four, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. One was, I think, a keyboarding YouTube channel,
Click and
and
switch.
I think
Yeah.
that's all I remember. Do you mind maybe extrapolating on the massive differences to kind of just show like the diversity of creators and the content that they make that you guys are writing checks to?
Yeah, Betty Van of Click and Switch or Switch and Click. I'm feeling dyslexic. Is such a talented creator. She has grown tremendously. I call her entertainment tech, where
Okay.
she's got such a charismatic personality, and she builds these custom keyboards and builds them for certain people. And each video is so entertaining, not only because of what she's building, but in terms of how she presents it.
Hmm.
And she has some really cool products lined up. You should definitely subscribe to her channel and be a part of that community.
For sure.
But I think that space of just custom products there are going to continue to grow. Another one of our creators, Reanime. If you're an anime fan, they are. I check this really like the only live action anime channel on YouTube, and the stuff that they produce is beautiful. And it looks it's just he's so talented. But we believe in the anime space. We believe in what he's building, and we wanted to give him the funds to invest in equipment and some staff to just continue making the next set of videos that he uploads onto YouTube. Another one of our creators, Oompaville, he bought the candy machine. He's phenomenal, super super talented. He's like the next Jim Carrey, but better, I think.
Oh, wow.
Hilarious and just like super business minded and creative, and just like a really good person. And then finally, from that Business Insider article, we invested in Never Too Small,
Mm.
which is totally different than everything else. They actually travel around the world and find small spaces. So think like tiny apartments, small spaces,
Sure.
and have videos that talk about how to make them into very efficient spaces. And they're
Oh, I would watch
beautiful.
that.
And so they have a coffee table book. They've got tote bags and other kind of swag, but they are also being really thoughtful about how they think about um, some of the services they offer and making them more scalable to people
Mhm.
who want to think about how to maximize their small spaces. It's a really neat channel, and you get to travel around the world with them as they do some of their work. So that's just a smattering, and there's so many more. We just made an investment in another creator, Glow Joe. She is so cool. Like, she is a fitness creator, and her channel, like, when I was watching her, I'm like, I want to start moving and doing some different things. Like, she just makes it so accessible, and she's got such an amazing community, and just thinks about her audience and her community and just all of the right ways. And so I hope that gives you a good
Yeah,
sense of just
absolutely.
gathering of creators. And what's so cool about creators, whether on YouTube or Instagram or Patreon or TikTok or whatever, is that
Mhm.
you can do so many different things, right? Like your finance and investing and like how do you grow, and that's so different from what we just spoke about. But there's so much space to build your own community and build your own business around what you really love to do. So we'll work with creators across any category. It's really specific to the creator, their vision for what they want to use the money for, and how they've experienced the growth and want to continue growing.
So what I'm hearing is you guys are investing into anyone that's a rock star. Sounds like you just listed off five, right? And it doesn't matter if you're gardening, doesn't matter if you're making keyboards, doesn't matter if you're into fitness. Creative Juice wants to invest into awesome creators and from any background, all shapes and sizes, and just help them grow and grow the creator economy.
Yeah, and we just want them to reach their full business potential. Absolutely.
I love it. So last question, don't want to keep you long here. I know I said about 30-minute podcast. So our last question is, when raising money, you were able to convince mega creators like Mr. Beast, Carter Scher, Graham Stephan, Shelby Church. Like, we all know who these people are. These people are awesome and they're massive. To actually invest their own money into your company. And don't take this as criticism, but I'd argue that there's a lot of other creators, both large and small, that would want to do the same. So when, if ever, would you allow actual customers of your business, aka creators of all sizes, like these five that you just mentioned, to allow them to participate in future rounds of funding? Will there be a time where Creative Juice maybe even facilitates investments into creators with like juice funds? And like what does all this turn into? What's like the North Star?
We're excited that we have a really strong set of creator angels that we haven't yet announced publicly. And what I will say is, look, like, we're still a young and growing company, but in future rounds, I really want to be intentional about how we get even more creators
Mm,
to have equity in our company. Because again, our mission is to grow the creator economy, right? We grow as creators grow, and we really want to make sure that our values are aligned with that. So that's like at the company level. At the juice funds level, there's so much interesting stuff happening right now around how you like crowdsource funding and how you do that. And we talk about it a lot, and the best way to do that, I'd say right now we're really focused on just nailing valuation
hmm
and like being
hmm
able to underwrite this in a really smart and consistent way,
Hmm.
because there's a big responsibility that comes with taking just everyday people's money and putting it in. And I think there's a lot of just hype right now in investing in the space and NFTs just in general.
Sure.
And we kind of want to be the anti-hype, where you can come to us and you can really understand like the creator as a business by their metrics. I mean, the way I like to think about it is not every company can go IPO, right? Like there's a reason why only some companies IPOs, because there's a certain rigor there. But then you as a shareholder also have certain expectations for how your money is protected. And I want to be able to build the same type of comfort around what we're doing at Creative Juice before we start really exposing it to retail investors. Uh, that's probably not the most satisfying answer for people who are into like the NFTization of everything and being able to invest, but we just want to be thoughtful and deliberate about how we do that while just really continuing to invest in creators themselves.
So what I'm hearing is from the first side of that question, which is, are other creators of all shapes and sizes going to be able to invest in future rounds? Definitely two thumbs up on that. You love the creator economy. And as you guys win, your shareholders win, aka creators, and it's all just a great flywheel. And then on the other side of that, which is the juice fund side, you guys are trying to nail down, make sure it's perfect. And when that time comes, you will move forward.
You said it better than I did. Thanks, Austin.
I love it. Okay, so this is a question. Now, this is the last question of the podcast. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's been 36 minutes." Austin, sign us off already. This is the last question, right? This is the question I ask everybody that comes on the podcast. So, in 12 months from now, Seema, what do you think people are going to be referring to when they say to themselves, "Oh, how did I miss this trend? It was so obvious," right? Like, what is that trend that's happening right now that is so obvious, but people just aren't paying attention?
I mean, obviously, that creators are the next generation of small businesses. Like,
Mhm.
invest in creator businesses, like, invest in creators, buy stuff from creators. Like, there's something super cool about buying, like a t shirt or a sweatshirt from someone you believe in. And food, right? Like, a lot of creators are doing food and different types of like fitness programs. And I think it's only a matter of time before you can buy furniture from a creator versus like
Mm.
girl. So it's all about the creator. Creators are businesses, and that's trending now. But I think it's just going to become more and more mainstream over time.
I love it. So I'm sure there's creators listening to this right now that might want juice funds, that might want to open an account. Where can they find you? What's the website? Give me the lowdown. Give me the plugs. Plug me up.
Tweet at Get Juice, follow us, DM us, go to our website, getjuice.com. You can log in and actually apply for juice funds today. It's totally live. If you want to sign up for a bank account, today we only allow creators with social media accounts to sign on. It's very creator focused. So,
Mhm.
but log in, get a bank account. You get virtual debit cards, physical debit cards, invoicing access, like a lot of really cool stuff. We want to hear from you. So always DM us, write to us, hi at Get Juice. We want to hear from you. We're here to help you and answer any questions that you have.
I love it. And for those people who are listening that are like, yeah, sounds kind of convincing. Austin, what do you think? I think I've been a customer. You should definitely do it. Two thumbs up for me as well.
Thank you, Austin.
Of course. Seema,
Great to
you're a
be
rock
here.
star. Thanks again for joining me. And this was great.